And yes, you're taking a ride as we have breaking news. Breaking news. I'm going to do that every show now because every newscast I watch, the first thing they say when they start breaking news could be 3 weeks old. It's breaking news, but uh, not really breaking news with the Eagles, but there's always breaking news. They interviewing people, and it's nonsense. But it's not nonsense. We will get into it. Okay. So my first question before we talk to our guest, who is I'm telling you, this guy is as honest as they come, and that's Jason Avant, and I know he's honest in this situation with the issues, and I'll say the issues, and you people are happy. A lot of you people, oh, they fired the offensive coordinator. That's the problem. Oh, really? Oh, really? You think that's the problem? There's more than that. There's more, and he was not a problem. Trust me, he dealt with a lot of things, and it's kind of when anybody gets fired, it's tough. But when you're fired because other people aren't doing their job well enough, and you really got to address the players with not doing the job well enough. But come on now, it just you people are disgusting, and I'll use the word disgusting. How you treated a lot of people treated him and his family because yeah, people egged his house. His kids were abused in school. That's disgusting and disgraceful. I mean, this is sports, gang. This is sports. It's not life and death, but it is to a lot of Eagles fans, life and death. And he is, you see somebody, oh, I'm so glad Patullo was fired. Why are you glad? Do you think changing the coach is going to change a lot of what was going on? Patullo, how do you know Patullo was terrible? You people are stupid asses. All right, stupid. It was Patullo's fault. Oh, he was clueless. He was terrible. Why? Why? Because the quarterback couldn't execute the damn plays. Why was he terrible? Because the quarterback couldn't execute the plays. Because the quarterback couldn't run with creative plays. Shady McCoy said it, and we'll play that comment from Shady. Why do they just not have motion and misdirection? That's because the quarterback is not real good with that stuff. That's what it comes down to. That's the bottom line. But you people were sucked in, sucked in. Oh, he's the greatest thing. He's one of the top five. He's not. I don't know that he's one of the top 10, but he's certainly not one of the top five quarterbacks in the league. I mean, it's just, and then you're going to fire the head coach. This is just such nonsense, such nonsense. You people are absolutely that think that he doesn't know what he's doing and he's not a good coach and he's terrible and he was the problem. You people are friggin', I could say, bleeping clueless. I don't like the word friggin'. Bleeping clueless, clueless. Uh, it's there's issues with this team. You could break it down. Okay, the offensive line wasn't as good. It's because they're just not as good. Lane Johnson was hurt. He's gotten older. You lost your guard to free agency. The center Cam Jurgens was hurt all year. I think Jordan Mailata is still a really good player, but he was not as good as he was last year. Nobody was. Nobody was as good. It, it's there's issues, and the defense, although good, not as good as they were last year. So people want to blame one guy, and you're too stupid. You're too stupid to understand if it's the players because you love the players. Oh, you kiss their ass, both cheeks. You kiss their ass because you think the players are the greatest thing since sliced bread. Some players are really. Devontae Smith, I can't say one negative thing about him. Saquon Barkley, I can't say one negative thing about him. Lane Johnson got hurt, unfortunately. Not one negative thing about him. But the reality is, here's the reality. You don't know a damn thing in many cases about what you're talking about when you blame the coaches because you don't know what they try to do. Uh, there are many issues on this football team. All right. So we're obviously going to talk more about that. Talk about the offensive coordinator's job. That's not a great job for people. That is not a great job with the Eagles. That is not a great job. So Jalen Hurts next year can say, "Well, I've had 7 different offensive coordinators," and so he'll complain about that when it doesn't get done. Oh, it's just like, well, I did different offensive coordinator, and he'll whine about that. So, well, and there's talk about Mike McDaniel. Might be a really good offensive guy. Brian Dable. Somebody brought up John Gruden. Why would John Gruden want to come here? Why would John Gruden want to be an assistant coach, an offensive coordinator here with the Eagles? There's going to be a lot of names out there, and we'll talk more about it. We're also going to talk about the Phillies. The Phillies lost a player today. They really didn't make any effort to sign him, but they lost a player today to free agency. We'll talk about that. Well, here's some of the comments. There's comments from Hertz that I want you to address. And I see there's a lot of people on the chat line. I want you to address. And we're going to play what LaShawn McCoy said too. So, there's a lot of things. By the way, before I got all caught up in the offensive coordinator and you people being clueless, not everybody, but a lot of you people are clueless. But I got to thank our presenting sponsor, as always, Stillwell Financial Advisors. Jeff Stillwell knows his stuff and can help you with managing your money, managing your wealth, and help you because things change all the time. They change so often. Give Jeff Stillwell a call. Just check it out, and see if you have any interest. But I've always learned things when I talk to Jeff Stillwell about the financial world. 732 343 0813. 732 343 0813. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Phillies. We have an Oakley winner. By the way, when I give the question towards the end of the show, and we got a new prize for you tonight. When I give the question, don't answer it on the chat line. I changed it, and those people apologize later. Don't answer it on the chat line. I let people, watch it and have for themselves because I changed the question. But if people were listening, I know there's a lot of people that got the right answer on the new question that won the Oakley sunglasses last time. So we'll do that. Have a new giveaway, but there are so many good things that are going to happen on the show tonight. One will be Jason Avant coming up very, very shortly. But right now, I want to tell you about Piazza Property Pros. I talk to people at Piazza Property Pros very often to your front yard. See, this is the time of the year you can do things outside, not necessarily if you want a pool, not building a pool, but there's things they can do outside and make your home look great. The front and the back, and all kinds of things that they can do to your property. Well, an in-ground pool, obviously you got to wait, but you can make the decision, whether it's excavation, hardscaping, fencing, landscaping, building things around your house. A friend of mine wanted to get in touch with him, so I put him in touch with Jim Piazza. Piazza Property Pros, 25 years of experience. I use them. You can use them. I know them. They're good people, and the fact that they don't subcontract is really, really important because that means it's their people and their work and it's good work. And give them a call and they'll work within your budget. Here's the number 610-566-2608. You can schedule a free consultation. That's 610-566-2608 or check them out on the internet, piazzaoutdoor.com. And I told you that I had a terrific and sensational guest who can really break down. This is not a happy time in Philadelphia not because the Eagles, well, because they lost, but because of the way they lost. And this offense has got some issues. And what better guy to talk to that can break it down as well as anybody? Jason Avant, a former Eagle. He's on the post-game show, NBC Sports Philadelphia. And Jason, before I ask any questions, I just want to tell people, and I've told you this, I think you do an absolutely sensational job on that post game show. You break it down well. Uh, you tell people the truth, and you're not afraid to tell people the truth. And that's a quality that is really difficult for an ex athlete to do that. But the truth will set you free. I always believe that, and it's someday I really believe that you're going to be working for a network because you do a sensational job. And thanks for joining the program. Thanks so much.
No worries at all. It's great to be here, and I appreciate that. It's kind of a, I don't know if it's a lost art, but I've always been in trouble my entire life for telling the honest truth from my parents when I was a little kid. I'm like, hey, look, you shouldn't smoke that. You won't have heart problems. So that's been me my whole life. I've gotten in trouble for it for most of my life, but
The truth will set you free. Remember that, because people respect. I mean, think about, you heard me for all those years. I would be honest because I would talk to people, and I know you do the same thing. You look at it, you break it down honestly. You're not just saying things to say things. And after it's all said and done, the fact is, people, they may not like what you say initially, but they respect you, and then they realize, you know what, he was right. He knew what he was talking about, and you do really know what you're talking about. So, and I appreciate that. So, let's break this down. I mean, your overall view, we of the offense. I mean, that's really what it is. When this team can't score 20 points a game, there's something that's not clicking there and not right. What is your initial breakdown of the Eagles offense?
Well, if you're talking about the breakdown of this particular game, they actually got body on a body for most of that first half, right? And maybe that last possession of the first half is where they kind of stalled and went away there. But early in that game, even when they didn't have the greatest blocks, they had what we would call a stalemate. Saquon was able to make yards. And they had some creative play calls because San Francisco does not cover the center most of the time or don't cover guards. So they were able to double pull out and have some lanes. Saquon missed a few cuts. Saquon missed about, I would say, 60 yards worth of cuts in that game. Because he had one big one that he missed. That would have been a 40-yard gainer or so. So there were some opportunities there. And then in the second half is when they started to stall. And that right there was just the play calling that we had in those situations just went from up here to down there in a heartbeat. It seemed like outside of the first 15, outside of those scripted plays, when we got back into our regular flow of offense, that's when San Francisco is beginning to realize, okay, this is what they do, this is what we studied, and they had a plan for it. And so there, some of the play calls are just mind-boggling to me. In situations like the last fourth down with the game on the line. And I said this in the post game, and it's kind of ironic because as you watch the tape, you begin to see it. They had the fourth down where they run two all goes on the outside go routes, and then they had two basic routes, two in breakers breaking into each other. That's a horrible play call in and of itself, right? Because what if both guys get man-to-man coverage? You throw the ball in the middle, they're going to run into each other, right? So that's not a good play call. But they ran a play in that second quarter, what we call Andy Reid called a double dig lock concept. And I know I'm getting way out into the weeds there. But it's a double dig lock concept, and it worked on a 3rd and 14. And Devontae ended up getting like 13 yards, and they tush push for the first down. They could have ran that play again. And when you're calling plays, when a play is successful, you put a check mark on it so you can come back to it later. So there's an opportunity for them to come back to that play later in the game, which would have been on that fourth down because it was a successful play call against the same coverage with the same rush, and we didn't do it.
Okay, well, all right. There's a problem with the Eagles scoring in the second half. And some people have said, and people in football, that once they get through their plays, they don't have a lot of new plays because they've used him in the first half, and teams kind of know what's coming. There's not a lot, but I don't I don't blame the offensive coordinator as much as people do. And did you hear what Shady McCoy said? Did you hear his
Yeah,
comment?
yeah.
Let me read it for people because I don't know if you'll be able to hear it.
Mhm.
We can't do different exotic looks, different formations, different motions. I hear he can't really do it. So your thoughts on the quarterback's got to make plays. So are they afraid, or are the plays not there because they're not comfortable that he can do more than they put in the playbook going into the game?
I've said that multiple times. Like, and there's a sense that there's a lack of wanting to go in motion and tight splits when the game's on the line, or not even when the game's on the line. When Jalen's most comfortable is when he's in shotgun and he's in spread and they're stagnant. That's where he sees the defense best, and they spread him out. But you don't put the pressure on the defense. And that's what you saw from San Francisco's offense, is that they play football within the numbers. Everything is tight. It makes the quarterback know for certain what coverage is coming, right? So he has to know it like the back of his hand, what he's looking at, because everyone is in the middle of the field. And it takes a complex mind. It takes a person that's able to trust it to be able to rip it like Brock Purdy's doing. And you put a lot of pressure on the defense because guys are doing this and they coming in motion. And so when you don't do that, you're going against an offense that you've seen day one. When you start playing football as a defender, you're like, oh, he's lined up there. This is our coverage. This is what we do. Everyone knows that. But when you start to get in tight splits, you start to go in motion, it's harder for the quarterback to read, but it's so much harder for the defense to execute their assignments. And so when you don't have that nuance, you don't have that creativity, and if the quarterback is unwilling to do that, it puts your team at a disadvantage. And that's just the truth. And it becomes easier for other teams to be able to cover you. Now,
And it seems like Jalen's afraid to do that too, or
well,
uncomfortable with doing that.
so based on everything that's transpired in these last few years, you can say that. What helps you is that when you're a dominant run team, and the Eagles last year, not this year, last year was a historically great run team, historically great. So when you're historically great, simple concepts will work because they're so focused on stopping the run that you can throw some hitches and some slants and some goes out there. You hit a few, you're explosive. And also, you put the ball in the running back's belly, and then you have a play action off of it. Now you have throwing lanes. It makes it easier. So the scheme and the success kind of helps you. But when you don't have that, it kind of exposes your inadequacies. And yes, so that's what Shady is saying. And you do see that on film. Now, all that being said, there are still opportunities for guys to make plays. There's still opportunities for it to move. And I'll say this, for as far as the offense coordinator is concerned, or whoever the play calling is, it's hard to call an offense that you want to call if the quarterback isn't capable of running it. So that's hard to do. And here's the other thing. It seems like the Eagles, the last 4 or 5 weeks, have had one wrinkle that they liked in the game plan that they would start out the game with, and they will have success. That wrinkle gets taken away somewhere around the mid of the second quarter, and they have no adjustment after that. So what that lets me know is that they don't have a counter. And if you don't have a counter in NFL, you have to have multiple counters in the NFL in order to have success. Okay, we're going to run this. If it's successful, this is what they'll do off of it. And then we have plays that kind of help you in that situation. This week, it was Darius Cooper. Darius Cooper in tight splits. He was chipping. He was running routes. It was a part of the run game. He was the guy that was knocking the safety back. He was doing a bunch of that stuff, and it was successful. They started doing it in the second half. It wasn't successful because they adjusted, and the Eagles didn't have an adjustment for that.
Yeah, and that's a problem. You mentioned Jalen likes to play in the shotgun. I know Kellen Moore last year wanted him to take more snaps under center, and he wasn't comfortable with it. We'll just say he wasn't comfortable with it. They got him to do more of. They got Hurts to do more of that this year because it helps your play action.
Yeah.
But how difficult is it to be as creative as you want to be when the quarterback really is not comfortable with taking the snaps under center?
It, you like I said, you're gonna, and this is the thing, like it has to be a fair assessment because it's easy to say Nick Sirianni, it's easy to say Kevin Patullo.
Yeah.
You got to include Jalen in all of this too, because if I feel hindered at all as a play caller, and that's what you're as a play caller, what you're doing is it's not about what you know, it's what the players are good at and what the players are capable of. So you kind of are in this space of, okay, this is what he likes. What he likes isn't working. Let's do some of the things that I like, but he doesn't like what I like. So you're in between a rock and a hard place as a play caller, and you're kind of handicapped. Now, can some play callers do better in that situation? Can Kellen Moore do better in that situation, having a young, Dak or a young, Hurt, like whatever? Can you do some of those? Yeah, you can be better. Play callers can be better in scheming up plays, but you want your full opportunity to be a play caller and not be hindered by someone's deficiencies.
When AJ Brown is a terrific wide receiver, and he obviously knows what a lot of the issues are. He started to say it earlier, and then they got him to keep quiet, and it's not good. With that being the case, as good as he is, can you have A.J. Brown with the Eagles next year, knowing that the quarterback's going to be the same, the situations are probably going to be the same, and he's probably not going to be happy? Can you have him here and, for his own good, if maybe nothing else, be back with the Eagles next year, in your opinion?
I think Nick Sirianni likes AJ. The challenge, and I'll make my case first before I answer that question directly. So the challenge is that I believe that AJ has isolated himself in a way that has put himself against the organization. The reason I say that is because when you have a one guy that you have to handle with white gloves, and everybody else is supposed to take hard coaching, or a guy that the coach has to talk a certain way because he's volatile, the players begin to feel that, and you begin to lose respect from the rest of the players. So when you have him, taking exception to Nick Sirianni telling them to get off the sideline, it was him and Mala to get off the sideline. You guys are taking too long. We're trying to punt. And then they get into a verbal altercation. How many altercations can you get into on the sideline over a course of 3-4 years before a team is like, yo, that's enough? So I think he's putting himself against the organization with his attitude and his approach, where he's become a lightning rod and a guy that can hurt you when it comes to other players respecting the authority.
So can he be here next year and go through a whole season of him not being happy again?
Listen, I think anybody can do anything for the right dollar amount, right? But I will say this: do I think AJ will be happy in this situation? No, I don't think AJ will be happy here. And here's the thing: AJ has a long shelf life. He still has another 3-4 years of good football. If AJ is in a place where he can be schemed up, if he gets into a Ben Johnson's offense, he gets into a Matt LaFleur's offense, he gets into a Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan offense, Mike McDaniel's offense, AJ is going to thrive. Like, he's going to thrive, and people in the Eagles we let him go. But that doesn't mean that he's going to thrive here. So with that being said, it may be best for the Eagles and AJ for AJ to move on.
So you think that there's teams in the NFL where you identified the teams that you think he could really
Oh yeah.
be back to the same. Those teams, what were those teams again that you identified?
Oh, like teams that can get him the rock, like a Ben Johnson offense, but mainly like the Shanahan like styles, the Mike McDaniels. I know he's not anywhere now, but Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, that type of offense where you can be schemed up some because he's at that stage in his career where he needs a little bit of help. He hadn't fallen off a cliff. He just needs a little bit of help, right, in order to stay open, where they can get him up like Puka Nakua in between the center, not the center, but the tackle and the guard. He can release in there and go across the field. There's creative things where he's not depending on his own ability the entire time to get open.
You know, at the end of the year, I mean, the media, sometimes they do a job, sometimes they just try to instigate by the questions that are asked. But certain questions, they're obvious questions to be asked. So the question after the game was to the players. You asked the coaches; they're not going to say anything. Were about Kevin Patullo, and I mean, Saquon said it was pretty much everybody. He says, "Hey, the media's got to do their job, and somebody's got to take the blame, which is not fair. But life is not fair sometimes."
Yeah.
But and the reality is, Jalen did not. I thought he threw him under the bus a little bit. Well, he says that's Howie's decision. Yet when he was asked about AJ, AJ and I get along great. So did Jalen not do as a leader, as a supposed leader? Not to, it's easy to say, hey, listen, you can't blame Kevin for everything. Just there's another way to dance through that. Did he do the right thing by not defending his offensive coordinator?
I think that's always the high road. Because you can always protect, like, because I'm not in the building anymore. I can say what I want. But when you're the face of the organization, there's multiple times where Jalen has had a chance to save Nick Sirianni for some press, has a chance to save Kevin Patullo for some press, right? Where people are not reading in between the lines. If he just comes out and say, hey, this is not all Kevin Patullo's fault, this is not all AJ's fault. It's a combination of everything that went on this year. That's always the high road, and that's the road that you want to take. But do I think that Jalen feels that, based on his comments, I know he's been frustrated. Right. So I know that, for a fact. So I know he's been frustrated. And, will we see? Unfortunately, I think Kevin Patullo is going to be the fall guy.
Yes.
Do I think that there's some plays that he wants back? Like I said, that last fourth down play, I don't know. I don't know what that is. And also, but even with that being said, say that's the case. Why just throw it to a guy that's covered by three people? Why not extend the play? Like there was so much uninspired football. And that's my concern. It was uninspired, meaning guys had a chance to do something extra that they didn't. If my season is on the line, I have the ball in my hand and no one's open, I'm not throwing it hoping that he catches it. I'm going to try to make a play, buy time for someone to get open, and then I hit him late. I would rather do that than throw the ball in between three people and say, you know what? Better look next year.
Tom Brady, and I'm sure you heard it said during the broadcast that he gets out. I think he said
he moves for no reason.
Yeah, right.
Basically. He gets out of the pocket when the pocket is good, but it's easy for Tom to say that when Tom is 6'3", 6'4". Because Tom can look over the defense and still see everything. So the pocket is his safe place. And Tom has zero athleticism, right? So he can't get out there anyway. So he learned the game differently. But he's right in the sense that Jalen, if the pocket is clean, he doesn't feel comfortable there after his clock goes off. Because there's a clock that goes off with the plays. Because when you train and when you're in practice and you take your 5-step drop and you take 2 hitches, the coaches are kind of get the ball out, right? So you're not really taught in practice how to extend the play. You're taught to get the ball out at a certain time, and if you continue to do that, you do what you do with Jalen in the game, where you try to get out of the pocket and make something happen rather than sitting there and letting people come to you. So Tom is right. Jalen probably can't see in the pocket as well. Drew Brees couldn't see in the pocket as well, but he figured out a way to get it done. Brock Purdy can't see in the pocket. He figures out a way to get it done.
Yeah, there's smaller quarterbacks that find a way. And the thing that other people have pointed out in football, and Kurt Warner kind of pointed out when I had Kurt on the show, that when he scrambles, he doesn't really look down the field. When you're scrambling, you're trying to look down the field. Why do you think he has those issues where he's not looking down the field once he gets out of the pocket to scramble?
Yeah, I don't know. He's done that in the past. It hadn't always been a thing. I just think that it's when when he's going right, he has a higher opportunity to do that. When he's going left, it's a tuck and run. He doesn't feel comfortable going left and throwing. So if it's right, that's why he always tries to go to the right. But it cuts off half the field. And like there's plays to be made, but just manipulating the pocket. And that's where you get to a place. I remember Green Bay, maybe 7 years ago, maybe even longer, maybe even 10 years ago now. But Aaron Rodgers had a horrible offensive line. It was one season, he had a horrible offensive line. He made some of the best throws I've seen in my life. And what he would do is manipulate the pocket. He would just change his position when a guy would get beat and let the guy reestablish his block, move over to the right, move over to the left. And he was playing a dancing game within the pocket and still making plays down the field. It was a special thing to do. Am I expecting Jalen to do that? No, but I'm expecting him to grow. And guess what? At the end of the day, here's my thing. If you're paying a dude $250 million and this is your guy, he has to be able to uphold the organization when contract situations are happening, when a team gets bad. That's what Josh Allen does. Josh Allen's basically taking his team into the playoffs the last couple of years on a rebuilding roster. Patrick Mahomes, so on and so forth. So that's what you need. You can't expect the team to continue to be good when you pay the quarterback that much money. But go ahead. I'm going on that.
All right. So we haven't touched on the defense. They're good, but they weren't as good as last year. I mean, it's hard to be the same as you were the year before. That when they won the Super Bowl, they had so many good things going on. The running game obviously set up, the offensive line, all these things. But the defense,
less plays. Go ahead.
The defense. What do you think the defense has to do? I'm just going to mention this to you. The defense is really good. Yet in the LA game, when they had a lead, the team moved down the field. The Tampa game, when they had a lead, the team moved down the field. I see at the end of the game, they just don't make the Buffalo. I mean, they only gave up 12 points, but the 2-point conversion, Josh Allen makes that play 99 out of 100 times. But the team moved down the field in an important situation. So the defense isn't as good. They're good. What do you think the defense needs to do to get back to where they were?
Well, so what they need is an elite pass rusher. That's the only thing that they're missing. This defense needs an elite pass rusher. Like, we have a bunch of guys that are good and they can play well in games, but they don't have a guy that you have to double team. Jalen Carter can be that, but this year he hadn't. Maybe he's just hurt and he needs to get there. But I'm talking about an edge rusher in the range of a Daniil Hunter or Joey. Like I'm not Joey, but Nick Bolt. Like those types of players where they make a difference and you have to account for them every single play. The Eagles are that special player away from being like an outstanding defense. They're doing this well with. In the secondary with coverage for most of the year with just a mediocre pass rush. Just a mediocre pass rush. And what's holding this team together is the back seven. The back seven keeps us in ball games. not saying that the defensive line doesn't do a good job at times stopping the run or getting pressure on the quarterback, but it's inconsistent. So, and then you face a coordinator like Kyle Shanahan, you're going to give up some yards. You're going to get a play. Like, there was 3 play calls in that game that he made. It was just unbelievable play calls. The last touchdown of Christian McCaffrey, I've never seen the play. Like, so I know Texas concept, but I don't know it like he did it, where the back is offset to the right, on the right side of the formation, offset right to the quarterback, goes back across the formation out to the flat, and then comes back in. They usually run same side Texas. It's not something that you do normally. That's a wrinkle that he did put in that game for the Eagles. When you have a dude that understands defenses that well and can put something in new that he hadn't shown on film, that was just designed for you, and then the trick play, like, you have Christian McCaffrey's catching that's like the defense is not going to be able to be perfect. They were able to hold you in the game and give you 5 opportunities to go and win that ball game in that second half.
The Eagles need to score 24 points a game, and they didn't do it against the good teams. They didn't score 20.
Hear me out. 24 points a game will put you at the 14th best offense in the league.
That's a
14th best. And guess what? 14th best. You had to be the worst team in the playoffs to average 24 points a game. There's 14 teams in the playoffs. They just needed you to be the worst team in the playoffs offensively. Basically, they needed you to be there, right? As far as offense is concerned. So, the 23 points that they scored is to that offense is not they're averaging 30. Like, that's good.
You know, the one thing you should point out, when Jalen needs to do things within the pocket, that touchdown pass to McCaffrey, not the trick play, but the one where he kind of stepped up in the pocket a little bit, just to give himself another half a second or a second, and for McCaffrey to get open over the middle.
Yeah,
Jalen doesn't seem to be able to do that very well, if at all.
This year, like I said, this year seemed a little bit uninspired. Like, the little things, the extra credit, the stuff that you do, and when you like super passionate about the game, like, people, like, remember, this is a playoff game, right? How many times in that game did you see somebody putting their body on the line to gain the first down? No, just like, serious. Like, just think about it. Think about the John Elways. Think about Steve Young. Think about the playoff football where you are yards short and the quarterback is determined and the running back is determined, the receiver is determined. You didn't see that in that game. They played the game like it was a normal Week 12 game.
Jason, when you look at young quarterbacks in the league, and you try to look, do they stay the same or do they develop? What quarterbacks do you see in the league that have Caleb Williams, I think, has really taken leaps and bounds this year.
Yeah,
and made some big plays and winning drives. What young quarterbacks in the league do you see that you think have done a good job in developing beyond what they were when they came into the league?
There's guys that are getting better. You obviously know Drake May's there, and you said Caleb, and I like Caleb because Caleb wasn't spoon-fed. Caleb started off this season rough.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson, this is my offense. You adjust or you die. And so you have some negative plays. He figures it out. And before you know it, you get to week 12, 13, you got a veteran quarterback now.
Yep.
Rather than like feeding them along, hey, we're going to just keep them in the ball game. No, let them go and fail. And that's what's missing now. No team wants to go through the hard failing phase. So, but Drake, Caleb does a good job. Mac Jones, when he was in there, took leaps and bounds. And if you talk to, I got some friends that know the Niners staff and on the Niners staff, that they believe that he can run the offense better than Brock Purdy can. Just Brock Purdy has a little bit more of create creative play call, like being able to extend the plays, like, secondary action plays. So they keep him in there. But Mac Jones, if, grown a bunch, there's a bunch of guys that are doing a good job.
You know what? I think, and it won't be with the Eagles, I think Tanner McKee is going to be a starting quarterback 3 years from now
You
in
gonna
the
be 3
NFL.
years?
Yeah, well, maybe less than that. The problem
Mhm.
is the Eagles can't. He knows he's going to get more money somewhere else, so it's hard for the Eagles to sign him, and they'll probably look to trade him.
Yeah.
The thing I like about him, he goes through his progressions. He's got a strong arm. He doesn't have the athleticism, but I think he's got really good pocket presence from what I've seen in the
Yeah.
practice. Forget about that last game. He was playing with second and third string players. That's not fair. But I just think he does. I think he does a lot of the right things. Have you seen enough of him, whether you've been at practice or not, to say that down the line he could be a decent starting quarterback in the NFL?
I don't base it off practice. I base it on games, and then and so I can't make that determination.
Okay.
Others
Yeah.
can. I can't. I'm like, I've been fooled enough by Charlie Weiss, Matt Flynn, Kevin Cobb, and that's my boy. Like, I've been fooled enough by guys that had like a great small sample size in order to make that determination. So you gotta give me a good 7-8 games of really
Right.
solid play for me to believe you can be a starter.
Okay. In the NFC, who do you think gets to the Super Bowl?
That's tough.
I love the Rams, but they got to play two straight home road games. They got to play 2 more road games. That's tough.
And you may think I'm dodging these questions. This year is as open as you're going to get on.
Yes, yeah, I
It's
agree
the
with
most.
that.
It's the most open year, and any team can win it. It's like this is the NFL's dream right here. Is that you have this year is so close, and there's so much parity. Like, any one of these teams can win. And that's the good thing about the NFL this year. That's why you're disheartened about the Eagles, because they can win these games. It's just that they figure out ways to lose. But yeah, if I were going to put my money on any ball club, if I had to put money on them, it probably would be the Rams.
And just to touch on the Eagles, you said Kevin Patullo is going to be the fall guy, and I agree with that. Not that he's not a good coach. I think Kellen Moore will take him in a second with New Orleans if that's the case. The thing that I think is sad, that the fans have created this unbelievable attack. Whether it was on his house, his kids get brutalized in school, which is really kind of a sad.
That's horrible. This is the nature of our country. It's a lot of just foolishness going on in our country right now.
Yeah, well, there's no question about that. We both agree with that. So it just, I feel bad for him, but he'll get a job. And the Eagles got some work ahead of them.
Yeah, he's definitely going to get a job no matter where it is, even if it's to stay at the organization, just not in that role. So because he has a lot of upside, and it's not all his fault. Like it isn't. Like, I love Jalen, champion. Jalen has to improve. He has to improve. And I believe Jalen is like the stock market. Like, you're going to have years where he goes up, and you have years like this where he comes down, and maybe next year he goes up. But you want that consistency. You just don't want all those downturns, So, but a lot of this season is on Jalen. A lot of it. It's not just Kevin. I'm not blaming all Jalen, but a lot of it is. If our quarterback can do more, we'll be better.
Hey, I want to tell people, obviously, there's no more post-game shows on NBC Sports, but people can find you on Facebook. What's your handle on Facebook?
It's I think it's J_AVANT81 for
81.
For Facebook and Instagram. Yep.
Facebook and Instagram. Okay, because great insight. You're honest. Jason, I love your insight. I wish more people were like that in the media, and people are afraid to offend, and you can't. You got to do what you think is right and be honest with people. Truth will set you free.
They'll set you free. I appreciate those words.
No, you're really good at what you do, and I've always respected you as a person, which is important in life because you're honest as a person and you're honest when you do what you do on the air. And I really appreciate it. And I appreciate your time today.
No, thank you. Anytime, bud. Take it easy, Howard.
All right. Hey, Jason, have a great day and a great week and a happy new year to you.
All right,
Brother.
you too, brother.
All right. Jason Avant is absolutely so honest. It is so good. It's so refreshing to see somebody on the air and not just the ESPN talking heads, which say things just to say things. He is to the point, he's honest, and he made some great observations. And I want to thank again Jason, but also our presenting sponsor that helps us in putting this show together, Stillwell Financial Advisors, for sure. Stillwell Financial Advisors. Any wealth you have, Jeff Stillwell can absolutely, positively, 100% help you. Give him a call, 732-343 0813. Now, there's going to be some more things that I'm going to talk about. Obviously, going to deal with the LaShawn McCoy, Shady McCoy comment again, and we're going to play it for you. Jalen, I just didn't like. I just didn't like the way he responded. Some of his responses the day after the game, and Saquon Barkley I think, is always honest, and we'll deal with that, and a couple of the other sports we'll deal with as well. But also, I want to tell you another important partner of the show is Piazza Property Pros. I'm telling you, I've had a friend of mine says, "Hey, can you get me in touch with them?" Yeah, absolutely. Jim Piazza, and they have a lot of fine people working with Jim that do a great job, whether it's your front yard, whether it's your backyard, whether it's a fire pit, whether it's a hot tub, whether it's a pool, whether it's landscaping, whatever it may be to improve the outside of your house, you can call and trust Piazza Property Pros, 25 years of experience. They don't subcontract, which I think is really, really, matter of fact, I know it's really, really important. Exceptional results. Call them. Just give them a call. 610 566 2608. Schedule a free consultation. That's 610 566 2608. Or check them out on the internet, piazzaoutdoor.com. It's so nice. It is so nice. And I'll say it again, and I said it. It's refreshing to have honesty from an athlete or a former athlete. And I'm going to diss a former athlete who is loved in Philadelphia for his lack of honesty in the current situation. But before we do that, a few things I want to mention before I get into some other things, and I'm going to deal with this. We've got, and very shortly, maybe in the next week, a new partner. I'll call him partner, and sponsor is just so business-like. A new partner, which will be an automobile dealership coming up in the next week that I'm excited about, and I've talked with them a few times, and we're going to have that, and we'll let you know. And it's just it's a change for me, but it's a good one, and we'll let you know within a week. Also, I want to tell you about a winner of the Oakley sunglasses last week. And I changed the question, unfortunately, because people answered the question on the chat line. So Mark Lawrence put up a statistic. The home underdogs in the playoffs, I think it was since 1980, were 30, have some ridiculous number of like 35 and 15 or 35 and 12. So 35 and 15 is the number. Home underdogs in the playoffs, which is amazing. And Christopher Freed was one of the people that answered that question correctly, and he was selected at random. When you submitted your answer to my website, howardeskin.com, and we'll have another question coming up. And what we're going to do this week, we have another giveaway this week. And the giveaway is because if you want to look as good as yours truly, I've got $100 gift card to Maroney Custom Clothing. $100 gift certificate, gift card, whatever you want to call it. When I give you the question, submit it to my contact page at howardeskin.com. I'll announce the winner on Saturday. Got to get it in by Friday at midnight. And Saturday, I'm going to do the show, and it's live as it always is on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube, and you're notified immediately. Actually, I think most of the social platforms will do that if you request that, but you subscribe to YouTube, and obviously no cost, and it notifies you as soon as I come on live, and the winner will be randomly chosen from all the correct entries. Yeah, you can try to look as sharp as I do. All right. Yeah, see that? All those suits are custom made, and shirts custom made by Maroney Custom Clothing. All right. A few things I want to address here. Snaps under center. I mentioned it with Jason. Jalen Hurts doesn't like to take snaps under center, and that limits your offense. That's number one. So that's a limit to your offense. That's not the offensive coordinator's fault. That's the quarterback who's not comfortable, and they don't want to force him to do things that he's not comfortable with. He's done more of it this year, but then he got away from it because he's not comfortable with it. All right. On that last play, one of the things that happened, you can talk, it was a basic play, and it was, but there's not that many plays in the playbook to try to, again, make it, I want to say, easier or better for the quarterback. But they couldn't even audible off. They didn't have time to audible off that play when they saw the defense, because on that play, again, Jalen Hurts got to the line of scrimmage later than you really want to get to the line of scrimmage. There's an issue there. And there's been questions about it. The Eagles haven't addressed it. I kind of know the answer to that situation and why. And I was told in confidence, so I'm just going to leave it at that. The play gets in on time. Just trust me. The play is in on time, and it's not the fault of the coach or coaches with getting the play on time. So that was an issue on that play. All right. We touched on the fact that Jalen Hurts, if you're a leader, hey, listen, I like being honest, but if you're not honest, at least be somewhat, how do I want to say it? Just kind of protect the guy. He was asked, like everybody was, about Kevin Patullo, and I did not like this answer. Let's listen to his response. And a lot of players were asked about Kevin Patullo. All right, let's hear Jalen Hurts. This was the day after the game, not after the game.
Opportunity to have that with Kevin Patullo. Do you want him to come back as the offensive coordinator?
It's too soon to think about that. And like I said, I put my trust in Howie, Nick, and Mr. Lurie.
What about AJ Brown? Would you like AJ?
AJ and I have talked. We're in a great place.
Last one.
Maybe y'all can talk to him and ask.
What's interesting there is he answered the question about AJ. He answered the question, but he didn't answer the question about Kevin Patullo, and he could have answered that question differently than the way he did. But if you're going to be a leader, you're all part of the team. It's not just one person. I'm tired of, it's always the offensive coordinator, and I've had too many offensive coordinators. He didn't say I've had too many. I've had a lot of offensive coordinators. That's not really the biggest issue. All right. So LaShawn McCoy on a podcast, he doesn't care. He's honest. He kind of laid it out, and you got to dig deeper and think about what LaShawn McCoy said. Let's hear LaShawn McCoy.
Jalen Hurts. I don't know how to be honest, man. Like, Jalen Hurts, I need you to be special. Make plays. And then, like, I did a lot of digging, man. And I won't throw them under the bus here, but I know some people, right? And the problem is we can't do different exotic look.
Well, he can't do well. He can, but he can't. Exotic. He laid it out. I think Jalen Hurts is uncomfortable when the plays are more than basic plays. I'm pretty sure that that's really the case. So there's not a lot of plays there that they put into the playbook with motion and deception and all because Jalen Hurts is obviously not comfortable with them. But LaShawn McCoy laid it out. But it's not all these fans, all you nitwits that, the offensive coordinator, it's the offensive coordinator, it's the offensive coordinator. I can't tell you how many people have said that to me. Do you ever blame the players? Do you ever blame the players? And it's not just one player, but the quarterback is obviously, if he's going to get paid $50-some million a year, and he's going to be the leader of the team, and he's going to be the guy that quarterbacks win and quarterbacks lose. If he's going to be the guy, then he's got to be the guy. All right? It's not just one guy, but Saquon Barkley was asked again the day after the game when he thought about it, and people loved it. They pointed. That was the media all season, and the fans are outrageous. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But listen to Barkley, and it's not just one person, but he was asked about Kevin Patullo.
You know, you have to point the finger at one person. Like, that's what you guys have to do in your job. Somebody got to catch the blame, especially when we had the season we had the year before. Do I think that's fair? No, I don't think that's fair at all. You know, I'll be the first one to say that. Did I play to the level I played last year? I don't think so. So I let him down. I let the teammates down. You know, we all. It's a group thing. I know you guys are gonna point at one person and say that. It's a group effort, and I think I got nothing but positive things to say about KP as a man, as a coach. Just we fell short, and we as a collective, and I want to make sure we get this. As a collective, didn't do enough, and that's just the truth in my opinion.
All right, so now it's not just one guy. I see a comment here. It's not the offensive coordinator's fault entirely. This is from Thomas Scuffer. It's not the offensive coordinator's fault entirely. However, I wish the Eagles would have interviewed more candidates. It seems like they hired Patullo too fast. How many candidates do you know that they interviewed? Do you have any friggin' clue? Do you have any clue how many candidates they interviewed? No, you don't have any. You don't have the first clue, or the second clue, or the third clue. You might be a good guy, but people say, and you're not the only one. People say these things. That's not the case. He's worked with the team, understood the offense. He's a sharp. Kevin Patullo's a sharp guy. He's going to get. He's still technically with the Eagles, but he's going to get a job. He's going to get a job because he's a sharp guy. Kellen Moore, as I said, would hire him in a heartbeat. But they didn't hire him too fast. I'm telling you, this offensive coordinator's job is not a good job in a lot of people's opinions, and it's not just my opinion, because if something goes wrong, Jalen, well, that's the 7th or 6th, whatever number it is, offensive coordinator. Every year we change offensive coordinators. There's always an excuse. No more excuses. No more excuses. You got to be better. Somebody ripped Shady. I see on a comment. No, he's not a big tipper. I'll just leave it at that. He's not a big tipper. Shady is not a big tipper. But it's more than just. It's not the offensive. Everybody's got to share in the blame. Everybody's got to share in the blame. However, when people just focus on the offensive coordinator, you are wrong. All right. And by the way, it's 5 letters, so I'll spell it for you. WRONG. You are wrong if you're just going to say it's the offensive coordinator. The quarterback's got to be better. Bottom line, I'm tired of hearing, it's just home. He's got this all this nonsense that he rolls out there, and people defend Jalen. He was not. If you score less than 20 points a game against the 7 winning teams you played, the quarterback is not good enough. All right. Now, was he better in the past? Yeah. Can he be better in the future? The Eagles hope so. Yeah. But the offense is limited for a reason because of the comfort level that the quarterback has or doesn't have. You know, Stanky Bruff. They took a year off. They didn't take a year off. Teams are catching up defensively. The offensive line's not as good. The running back thus was not as good. Thus, the quarterback was not as good. It's all a trickle down effect. You had AJ whining. AJ's still a great receiver. Devontae Smith, I love it, Devontae Smith. And the defense was good, but not as good. All right, not as good. So there's so many different. There's so many. There's so many different things. All right. Um, Obviously, we're going to talk more about this on Saturday. Um, uh, I see somebody says, I say they don't extend Jalen's contract. This is Blampman, 77. I say they don't extend Jalen's contract, but let him pick his next offensive coordinator. No. I don't want the quarterback to pick the offensive coordinator. I don't want the quarterback to pick the offensive coordinator because I want the team to do the research, and do a good job of finding the right person. And the right person might not want to come here. I see Michael Campbell. Michael, no creativity on offense. That's not Jalen. Let me just break the news to you, okay, bro? All right, genius. When the quarterback is not comfortable with a lot of the plays, so the Eagles, I know, have cut down the playbook a little bit to make Jalen more comfortable within the offense. So when it's limited, it's because the quarterback is more comfortable with less plays. But he obviously needs to be a better quarterback. All right. Eagles are going to trade Jalen. Eagles need to trade Jalen Hurts. You can't trade him. He's making $50-some million a year. But as far as a contract extension, he's making $50-some million next year. And then the last year you can kind of get out of if you have to. I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback that can play next year. But the Eagles, I think they've drafted quarterbacks in 4 of the last 5 drafts. They'll draft a quarterback. They'll look for a quarterback just to kind of have as a backup. And you never know. You might get lucky with somebody like that. But Jalen Hurts is the quarterback next year. He's the quarterback next year. And he's got to be better. And there's a lot of things that have to be better. All right. Let me touch on the Phillies. Suarez has now signed with another team. Now, for people, there's a lot of things that are out there. Social media is not social. It's not media. Say, oh, he signed with the Red Sox for like $130 million. Well, now they have money to pay for Bo Bichette. Well, no. That money was never on their payroll. They didn't really want to keep Suarez because they didn't think he's done a good job for him, but they worried about injuries. They didn't want to sign him long term. They got too many players that they signed to big contracts, and they just didn't want it. They had really no interest in re-signing him. No interest. But that doesn't open up money for Bo Bichette because that money was never on the payroll anyway. He was a free agent. So that's the issue there. I'd say at best 50-50 chance. It's a lot of money, puts them way over the next level of the luxury tax. And as I said, John Middleton would pay it, but he doesn't have the full decision. They have other owners in the group, and those owners aren't billionaires. They're the family of the original group, and they want to win, but they want to make money. I see somebody said, George says, at least Ranger didn't sign with a New York team. It just, the Phillies have some work ahead of them. And I just don't think they're not there. They didn't do anything to make them a World Series contender. They didn't. JT is still not signed, and I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. He wants 3 years. They want to give him 2 years, but the money that I heard that they've offered him is $12 million a year for 2 years. He's not going to take that. He's not going to take that. And they're not going to give him 3 years. And he's 35 years old. You might just have to move on. His offensive production, he's really good defensively, obviously. You can get good defensive pitchers, and the pitchers really like him. But you still, the problem with this team is they got to have hitters that make contact. Bo Bichette, I see somebody says Kevin Hallinan. What's it? Hallinan. Bo Bichette is not the answer. He's not a strikeout guy. He's not. He says he's another 100 strikeout guy. He's not a strikeout guy. He makes contact, but his defense is average at best. So they don't improve themselves defensively. He would like to play second base. I think it's a mistake if you do that. If you're playing second base, that means you move Stott to third because they're going to trade Bohm. And if you do that, I think Stott's a better second baseman than he is a third baseman. And you hurt yourself defensively at second base. It's just they have some real challenges on the baseball team. They are not, and I will say this again, they are not a World Series contender. They are not. It's just they got. I don't know how they're going to fix this. They got a lot of work. They have a lot of work ahead of them. By the way, I really almost prefer not to mention it, but the Sixers are down by like 20-some points in the third quarter against Cleveland. Now they'll win on Friday because they play them 2 games in a row, which the NBA likes to do because they know they'll split. Embiid still shoots from 3 and still doesn't make them from 3. It's just they obviously didn't show up tonight. But that's all I'm going to say about the Sixers. Phillies have a lot of work ahead of them. All right. Our giveaway tonight is a $100 gift card from Maroney Custom Clothing. Mixing in another giveaway tonight. $100 gift card. I'm going to give you a question. Submit it to my contact page at howardeskin.com by midnight Friday, this Friday, January 16th. My show on Saturday, January 17th at 8 a.m. On X, Twitter, call it what you want, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I suggest you subscribe to YouTube so I know you're automatically notified when the show comes on live. And it's easy to find the show on YouTube too, and find all the past shows. Winner will be randomly chosen from all correct entries, and you can win a $100 gift certificate. Now, the question is, by the way, before we get to the question, there's one more Jalen Hurts comment that I want to play. I don't even know what he's trying to say. But he also, again, uses an excuse of the offense. You tell me what he's trying to say. Let me play the second Jalen Hurts comment that I played tonight, and just tell me what he's trying to say here.
It has evolved. I think some things come naturally in time, and I think also you got to have a level of humility too with the things that you can control. There are a ton of things that are out of my control, day in and day out. I've used the word influence. We've talked about that. Obviously, I try to use the influence for the best good and betterment of the team and trying to win. Ultimately, when I self-assess and I look at myself, which I will take a deep dive with this time that we have, the goal will be to try and improve that and that itself. Not controlling what anything else looks like, but saying, how can I improve as a player? How can I improve as a leader? And I think I've seen great opportunity in everybody, regardless of what we're running, how we're running it, what we're doing. It's so important to have everybody on the same page. And obviously, I think that approach changes in where it starts because we've had a different OC for the last number of years. So that change of voice, it does impact that. And that kind of gives the backside to what I mean by home base. but no challenge is big enough. You know, that's my mentality with this. I hate that, you know. I hate that. I hate that it ended this way, but I know we'll be better from it.
Jalen, you talking?
Oh my gosh. It brings up the offense. We've had a number of different offensive coordinators, and it's just players make plays or players don't make plays. You're going to say, so you're going to blame it. You're going to blame it on the play calls when the last play, call it a basic play, call it what you want, that 4th down, 4th and 11. But he threw into, it was at least triple coverage. There was 4 players around that. You got to extend it. And Jason Avant said it too on the show. Jason was great. Let's see, Maxey for MVP. His comment was, Hurts speaks and sometimes I need an interpreter. I don't know what he says a lot of the times either. And then somebody said that Dombrowski needs somebody to drive the car. I saw it briefly. I saw that comment. Dombrowski is not going to fix the car. Well, whatever it is, the Phillies have issues. The Eagles have issues. The offensive coordinator, don't think that's just an immediate, instant fix. That's not the way it works. That's just not the way it works. All right, the question to win the Maroney $100 gift certificate. I tried to be specific and ask Jason if, in fact, A.J. Brown is traded. He didn't say where he thinks he could be traded, but he named 4 teams. Name at least 3 out of the 4. If you name all 4, you're ahead of the curve. You name 4 teams he thinks he could really thrive in their offense. With that question, 4 teams that Jason Avant really thinks A.J. Brown could thrive in their offense, mainly because of the coaches. And send your answer to win the $100 gift card. You'll be selected at random to my contact page at howardeskin.com by midnight Friday, January 16th. And our shows, as always, on all the social media platforms. Thanks again to everybody. By the way, when I make picks and the donations, your donations for the picks support Brandywine Valley SPCA and Providence Animal Center, and check all those places out. You can adopt a doggy or a cat anytime you want, but your donations help them because they do a lot of great things for the dogs. And I'll have picks on the Friday and Saturday games, and of course on the national championship game on Monday. All right. Sixers in the NBA are on a whole are completely unwatchable. No kidding. The NBA is bad. And the Sixers are 3 to 4 years away from being 3 to 4 years away from being 3 to 4 years away. But teams got issues here. All of a sudden, the Flyers, I'm telling you, I love the Flyers. They've lost a couple of games straight to a really good hockey team. But the Flyers are the next team, I think. I'll take the Eagles out of the mix. The next team in town to win a championship. Probably not anytime soon, but I think they're the next team. Thanks to Joe Gangemi for doing all the technical stuff on the other side. Thanks to Tony Anastasia for all the great graphics and all the things she does for graphics and on the website and on the social media sites. And thank you for joining us. And thank Jason Avant. I love to have guests like that because he was so honest and so good. Thanks again. Have a great week, and we'll see you Saturday morning at 8.